Hello, this is Dr. J back with some more Let's Play Command and Conquer. In the last video, Nod ramped up its terrorist activities in Africa, pushed into Cairo, and took the city, destroying some GDI forces in the process. Now, one of the things about the campaigns in this game is that the original Nod campaign takes place entirely in Africa, while the GDI campaign takes place entirely in Europe, which is one of the reasons that both campaigns are canon and don't necessarily interfere with each other. And yet, at the same time, as we will see, there will be some events in one campaign that either directly or indirectly influence the events in the other campaign. But it's time to start on GDI now, so...
Elected.
Are you picking this up? Good. I know you need more deep background, but we're up against it. Nod forces have fortified this beachhead at X-16Y42. Intelligence is still coming in, so we can't tell you a lot. But we found a chink in their armor. Commander Carter can sneak you and some backup forces on shore right here. You may get some artillery support from his gunboats, but this is mostly grunt work. Your mission is simple. Knock out all fortifications, eliminate all Nod troops, and establish a beachhead by building your base. Good luck.
And so begins the GDI campaign. And we get to see that wonderful graphical glitch again. As with the first Nod mission, the first GDI mission is trivially easy. And it introduces us to one of my favorite elements of the original Command & Conquer game, the Gdi Gunboats, which are extremely powerful sea units. You can't build them. They only appear as computer-controlled ally assistants. They're very, very durable, and they have missiles that are very powerful. And when you see them, they are valued allies in the GDI campaign and feared enemies in the Nod campaign. And it's a minor thing, but I just think the gunboats are really cool. They're a really neat touch. And GDI is generally depicted as a very competent and effective military force. It seems very inspired by the Gulf War era US military. Now, oh, there's that bug again. In the first GDI mission, we get to build a base, unlike the first Nod mission. However, we don't yet have the capability of building a Tiberium refinery. An LPer who makes some really good Command & Conquer and Battletech videos. He is Sven von der Planck. I think that's how it's pronounced. Maybe it's Sven von der Planck. I don't know. Anyway, he makes good Command & Conquer and Battletech videos, like I said. He had an interesting suggestion, which was that at the beginning of the game here, GDI actually doesn't yet have the technology for manufacturing Tiberium refineries. And that's part of the reason that I'm doing these early missions in the order that I am. And in the next mission, we are going to come up against a Nod refinery. And we have the opportunity to build engineers, which means we have the opportunity to capture the Nod refinery, although it's not mandatory to do so. But I'm going to go ahead and do that because in terms of narrative, we can suggest that the capture of the Nod refinery in Mission 2, which is coming up, is what allows GDI to reverse engineer the technology and then begin building their own Tiberium refineries for the remainder of the campaign. Nothing in the actual story suggests any of that. But it also doesn't contradict any canon as far as I know, and I think it makes for a really neat and sensible narrative flourish. So for the purposes of this playthrough, we're going to assume that that is in fact how things go down, and where GDI gets the technology for the on-site field Tiberium refineries. We have our damaged gunboat still patrolling down there, and I think this is probably the last guy. Yes, and the first mission is accomplished. I do really like the movie sequences in this game. Not only the mission briefings, but also the computer-generated sequences like the one we just saw showing the birth of a base and the very detailed deployment of a mobile construction vehicle. They're really cool. I think that they add a lot to the game. Just one of many, many very nice touches in this game that makes it a true masterpiece. And sadly, we still have to put up with the very buggy map screen. Now, if you're wondering why I didn't make a save at the end of that mission, it's because we don't get a branch for GDI Mission 2. I don't think we get a branch for GDI Mission 3 either, but we are going to have to try to remember to make a save at the end of the next mission, because after the next one, we're going to be hopping back to Nod for a while. And here we're pressing into Estonia.
Good job with the beachhead, Commander. It's time to bring you up to speed on Nod so you know what you're dealing with. This is Kane, the self-appointed leader of the Brotherhood of Nod. Stand by, I'll link us up.
Condition critical. Know why Nod had this beach bottled up? They're protecting a big Tiberium refinery that intelligence somehow missed. We need backup now. Nod troops are pouring out of their base, strangling our foothold. We gotta knock out that refinery, eliminate all Nod forces before we lose our position. I don't know how long we can hold out.
Damn. You heard the man. What are you waiting for?
And so begins Mission 2, which shows the destruction of the base that we set up in Mission 1. And this takes place on an expanded version of the same map from Mission 1. We're going to see this reuse of maps a couple of times in the GDI campaign. And I think it's a nice touch. It gives a good sense of continuity when you're fighting on the same map like this. Here's our engineers. If I said that you can build engineers in this mission, I think that was me misspeaking. You get some engineers in this mission, but you can't actually train any new ones. We are, as I said, going to try to use these guys to capture the Nod Tiberium refinery. There's no requirement in our objectives that we do so, but it makes a lot of sense from a narrative point of view. I do think the actor who depicts General Mark Shepard, our GDI commander, does a good job of portraying him as a competent leader who genuinely wants to do what is right and good. Who actually believes that GDI is doing good in the world. So he comes across as a very charismatic leader, not anywhere near Kane's charisma, of course. Nobody has Kane's charisma. But I do like the character of Mark Shepard, and I think he's often overlooked, because he's so overshadowed by Kane. But GDI in general really are depicted as the good guys here in the first game. That definitely decreases as the games go on. GDI seems much more shades of grey by Tiberian Sun, the sequel. But that's all in the future, so let's not get ahead of ourselves. Alright, let's not attack the Harvester. We're going to want to be capturing that Harvester, you fools. Alright, our little scouting expedition up there was defeated, but that's fine. We were also introduced in that cutscene to Commander Carter. He is a fellow GDI commander who we will see a few times in the GDI campaign. He will be helping us out at various points. He is primarily depicted as a naval commander, seems to be in charge of the gunboats. Although he seems to have some involvement with the infantry as well, given what we just saw in that cutscene that we just witnessed. And this is probably a sufficient force to power through the defenses around the Nod base. And we will move in to capture the Tiberium refinery that Carter was referring to. Let's protect the engineers. The enemy doesn't seem too interested in our engineers in these early missions, whether we're playing as GDI or not. Alright, let's leave behind a few more defenders. It was a little disgraceful that the enemy was able to penetrate this rather large group of guys. We have practically a whole platoon here. But they were, so we'll leave some sentries behind just in case it happens again. Let's just use a G key so that our guys will auto-target all nearby enemies. Here's what I mean. Look at the sneaky snow and so's coming through the trees.
Building. Yes, sir. Unit lost. Unit ready. Yes, sir. Ready and waiting. Affirmative. Not a problem.
The base is a little better defended than I was thinking it would be.
Building.
Good thing the enemy doesn't care about the engineers. They've had plenty of opportunities to kill them at this point. They seem more determined to attack our base. Alright, let's reveal their base, find their refinery and capture it. We'll also take their construction yard. Oh no, that's the refinery, I mean the harvester. We do not want to destroy the harvester, we want to capture it. Grab the refinery. We'll go ahead and sell the construction yard for tons of money. Build another, barracks. Make it our primary building, and oh, I forgot, we can't build engineers in this mission. Silly me. So we will destroy the remaining Nod buildings rather than capturing them. Maybe if I kept the Nod construction yard, I would have been able to build a Hand of Nod and then build engineers out of that. I'm not sure. It doesn't really matter. Oh, I almost forgot. We are definitely going to want to make a save here. Okay. Whew. Oh, that was close. One of these days I'm going to forget to do that. %, leadership, 55% efficiency. I think leadership has something to do with how many units you lose, and efficiency has something to do with how well you handle your finances, your economic situation, but I don't know exactly how it's calculated. I also don't particularly care about my score in this game. Now, if we were to just end things there, it would make for a very short video. Narratively, I think it's appropriate to switch back to the Nod campaign now. And in fact, we're going to be with Nod for the next several missions. So, for the sake of video length, we're going to go ahead and swap back over to Nod and do Nod Mission 3. Probably both versions of it, because we're still at the point where the missions are very short. So, meet you back over with the Brotherhood. Welcome back. Here we are with Nod Mission 3. Like Nod Mission 2, I believe this is just two different maps of the same mission objectives. But once again, we are doing everything, so we will do both versions of this mission. As we press down into Sudan. Alright, Seth, tell us what we have to do.
Kane is going to be pleased to hear how skillfully you've handled yourself. And a word from me to Kane goes a long way in the Brotherhood. These walls imprison many friends and members of the Brotherhood. Free them regardless of cost. Overwhelm the prison, but leave it standing.
Alright, so GDI has taken some prisoners, and our job is to free them. Which generally means that we will have to capture the prison. Make sure that we don't destroy it. Still, the map is not quite the size of our screen resolution. This should be just about the last mission where that's the case. This one and the other variation of it. And this is a very Nod song, but it's also a little disruptive. It's kind of grating on me a little bit. Let's do on the prowl. Okay, there we go.
Construction complete.
Yeah, that song's a little heavy for me, even though it is pretty appropriate for Nod.
Building.
Once again, we start out with some engineers. Let's go ahead and put them where they're a little safer. And we see how terrible attack bikes are at dealing with infantry here. As we had two attack bikes fighting a single, or recon bikes, as they're called in this game. Their name changes from one game to the next. We had two of them fighting one infantry, and one of the recon bikes still managed to get destroyed. Actually, let's go ahead and send out all of our attack buggies on a reconnaissance mission. Get the lay of the land. Clearly a very small map.
Building. Unit ready.
I am going to occasionally misclick at this resolution. Everything is so small.
Building.
Alright, building our communication center is what gets us our mini-map. I did that just as a matter of form. The mini-map is obviously kind of redundant when you can see the entire map on your screen, but... And although it's almost certainly overkill this early in the game, I'm going to get a second refinery so we have a very steady income coming in.
Lost. Unit lost.
Our tech bikes ran into a squad of infantry and are suffering heavy casualties. Even though attack bikes are nominally anti-infantry units, they're very fragile. Their speed is their real asset.
Construction complete.
Okay, now we're ready to just start cranking out some infantry.
Unit ready.
It is extremely hard to try to click on fast-moving, panicking civilians at this resolution.
Unit ready. Building. Our base is under attack.
We have a cheeky GDI infantryman who has infiltrated our base from the north. We will send a squad of soldiers to go deal with him.
Lost. Building.
And it looks like we're about to lose our buggy scouting force.
Building. Unit lost. Unit ready.
I'll go ahead and build a second hand of Nod so we can crank out soldiers a bit faster. Again, is this overkill for the second mission of the game? Yeah, probably, but
Unit
we might as well get into practice for when the missions get harder and we actually want the economy and the speed of unit production.
Unit ready. Building. Unit ready. Building. Unit
Okay.
ready.
We'll post some guards out on the west side of our base and round up everybody else, minus the engineers. And wait for the harvester to enter the refinery so we don't accidentally select it. And let's go on a scouting in force expedition.
Unit ready. Building. Unit ready. Building. Unit ready. Building. Unit ready.
So we're encountering GDI Grenadiers, I believe for the first time in this mission.
Building.
I find Grenadiers very hard to use as a player, because they have a tendency to explode and take out everything around them. And if you have a whole group of Grenadiers, they can all explode at once. It's very irritating. The computer tends to use Grenadiers in smaller groups and is fairly good at keeping them spread out, so it doesn't often suffer the collateral damage that comes with using Grenadiers. Grenadiers are very good at anti-infantry operations and taking out light vehicles. They're not very good against heavy vehicles, but we don't have any of those yet, so that fact is of minimal use to us. We can't even build any light vehicles yet. But yeah, the Grenadiers are going to be quite a pain for us. We are also going to encounter GDI guard towers, which are an effective anti-infantry defensive structure. In general, the Nod missions are more difficult than the GDI missions. Here in the early game, that's because GDI has effective early game anti-infantry units and structures, and we can only build infantry. Later in the game, it's because the mission design for the Nod missions is just generally harder and more evil. Alright, these guys will be our guards. Oops. Okay, nope, that's fine. Hopefully this attack force will be enough to press into the enemy base, but I do believe they have a guard tower in this mission. Okay, not that way. Those grenadiers are really doing a number on our troops. We do not want to provoke the Harvester into squashing us. Okay, if we can get our engineers in to start capturing structures, then we win. Get that construction yard, and then if we can destroy the barracks, then the enemy cannot produce any more units, and it's our victory. Now, I don't think we're going to be able to get an engineer over there. No. I was going to say in time to capture the enemy refinery. Oh, has the game... Okay. For a second I was afraid the game had crashed. It is a little unstable, unfortunately. Alright, we're going to crank out some rocket soldiers to deal with the guard tower that I'm pretty sure is around the prison. Theoretically, they cannot range it. In practice, they're often too stupid and go into its range anyway. But if we have some minigunners to take the hits for us, then it'll be fine. And there it is. Oh, and here's a cheeky gunner. Why do I keep saying mini-gunner? Coming to try and take out our engineer. Might as well sell this construction yard for the cash. Alright, now according to the briefing, destroy the GDI forces and capture the prison. So that makes it sound like we have to both capture the prison and destroy the GDI base, not just one or the other. Okay, and it was a lie. We don't need to destroy all the GDI forces. That means I'm going to have to be careful to remember to save the game in the variation of this mission, so I don't have to replay it in order to do any coming branches. Which I think that Nod Mission 4 also... Oh god, that's so loud. I think that Nod Mission 4 also branches. Like, the number of mission branches in the early Nod missions is a little crazy. Anyway, I'll rejoin you shortly for the other variation of the mission we just completed. Welcome back. It's time to capture the prison, again.
Yes, sir. Affirmative. Yes, sir. Moving out.
We see that we have a pretty similar assortment of units as last time, but that the map layout is different once again.
Yes, sir. Moving out.
It won't be long before the different mission paths actually are straight up different missions, and not just different maps of the same mission, which that will be more interesting for us. Fend off an early GDI attack. Look at them going straight for the construction yard. Cheeky gits.
New construction options. Building.
Waiting order. Affirmative.
The AI in this game kind of vacillates between sometimes being really stupid and sometimes being surprisingly smart. It is very exploitable in a variety of ways. I don't think we'll have to use any of those exploits in the main campaign. However, I may resort to using some of them for some of the Covert Ops missions, which are generally quite difficult. But we will go as long as we can without having to use any cheesy tactics. Let's be a little more cautious in our scouting this time so that we don't lose all of our attack buggies. I think we made things harder on ourselves than they really needed to be by losing our buggies like that in the previous version of this mission.
Building.
2-on-1 should be a win for the buggies versus the Humvee.
Unit lost. Construction complete.
Let's go ahead and assemble some attack bikes to go... Oh, never mind. I was going to say go attack that other Humvee, but it seems to be leaving. Maybe it's on patrol.
Building. Construction complete.
Alright, now we will
Primary building selected.
have 2 barracks for creating
Unit ready.
units very rapidly.
Building.
Did we start out with engineers in this version of the mission? Either they all died or we didn't. So that's one difference between them. Arguably makes this one perhaps a little bit more difficult if we have to build the engineers ourselves, because that's quite a bit of money. At 500 a pop, engineers are not super cheap. However, given that they can instantly capture a structure, they're still a bargain at the price. I'm not even going to bother with the comm center this time. As I said, we certainly don't need it when we can see the entire map anyway. Alright, now let's just crank out guys for an assault. Let's take care of this annoying... Every time I go to take that Humvee out, it decides to leave. Okay guys, don't just stand around. Alright, we lost a vehicle due to my poor response time / my men's incompetence.
Unit ready. Building. Unit ready. Building. Unit ready. Building. Unit ready. Building. Unit ready.
Let's go ahead and send out at least just one scout.
Unit ready. Building. Unit ready.
Actually, let's send these 3 together as another scouting force.
Building. Unit ready. Unit lost.
Oh,
Lost.
wow, okay.
Unit ready.
I just lost both of my buggies to a couple of random infantry. Wonderful.
Yes, sir.
They were clearly both on the brink of death then.
Moving out. Affirmative. Unit moving out. Yes.
Unit ready. Unit lost.
Alright, and we lost a vehicle to that grenadier, who then died in the Tiberium, because Tiberium is poisonous and will injure infantry that move through it.
Building. Unit ready.
Yes, sir.
Unit lost.
Acknowledged.
Building. Unit ready.
We're not doing particularly well, are we? Okay, run, run. Attack bikes are worthless against infantry.
Building. Unit ready.
If you can be bothered to do a lot of micromanagement, attack bikes are good units. But they take a lot of babysitting to use them effectively.
Building. Unit ready. Building. Unit ready. Building. Unit.
My goodness, it just keeps selecting these really heavy tracks that I feel like I have to kind of shout over them. Let's listen to radio. I do wish I could customize the playlist like you can in the remaster.
Unit.
The really heavy, intrusive songs, I would probably just
Unit.
leave out of the playlist for the sake of easier, smoother commentary and not having to shout over them. Alright, let's, I think we've got a reasonable attack force assembled.
Unit ready.
Let's go take out the enemy base now.
Ready. Building. Unit ready. Building. Unit ready. Building. Unit ready.
Bring these guys along too.
Reporting. Right away, sir.
Building. Unit ready. Building.
Let's build some silos so we can save up some money and be ready to
Complete.
build a barracks and crank out a bunch of units in the middle of the enemy base, because that's good fun. Oh, the enemy guard tower is right outside the front in this version of the mission. In the other version, it was kind of protecting the prison rather than the main base.
Unit.
Take out those grenadiers. At this resolution, it's very difficult to make out the different types of infantry. It's easier when you're a little more zoomed in.
Unit lost. Unit lost.
Oh, this attack force is going very poorly.
Unit lost. Unit lost.
Let's just get in there and start taking stuff over. You know what, let's take their barracks. Why not? Sure, the barracks is less expensive than the engineer, but
GDI building captured.
If it stops them cranking out guys who are ruining our attack force, then it's worth it, right? Okay. Now I could take over their entire base, etc., but it seems we only have to capture the prison in order to complete the mission, and as I said, I don't really care about my score. Bet you thought I had forgotten to make a save, didn't you? Nope, I was just waiting for the engineer to get nice and close.
GDI mission accomplished.
Squish! And the enemy harvester squishes. Squishes one of my infantry at the very end there. Alright, well that is the first 2 GDI missions done, and both variations of Nod Mission 3. Next up, Nod Missions 4, both variations, and Nod Mission 5. I was waiting for that ridiculously loud explosion noise. And then we'll be back to the GDI campaign for a few missions. Hopefully you'll join me for that, and I will see you then.